Oh man, Gary Gensler gives up. Yes, the Weasel gave up his attack on Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Does this now mean that we are getting closer to a spot Bitcoin ETF approval? And are we just around the corner from the likes of BlackRock, Fidelity, ARK jumping on into the Bitcoin and crypto hype? Will this be the fueling run that takes us into our next explosive bull cycle? We're going to break that down a lot more, but the SEC decided it will not appeal its loss in the Grayscale case. I'm going to break down what this means and more for the Bitcoin price, which is currently stopping the bleeding just shy of 27,000. Is there still downside risk? We're going to do some TA. We're going to look at the key levels and break down exactly what's going on with this Bitcoin spot ETF. Where's this all coming from? So we need to understand exactly what happened. Grayscale owned the GBTC, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. This was a way for institutions to get exposure to Bitcoin. Remember, institutions cannot easily get exposure to Bitcoin currently in its current guise. This was well before the Bitcoin futures ETFs as well. And they would use this fund, the GBTC fund, to get exposure to Bitcoin. Now, the GBTC fund would go by the spot Bitcoin, but at the same time, the companies were getting exposure via holding shares of GBTC. And these shares were trading at a discount to the price of Bitcoin. So if you in January were buying this, you were buying it at 46% discount to the price of buying Bitcoin on the spot market. So institutions were able to do that. Now, the idea of this fund was to always take all of that and convert it into a Bitcoin spot ETF at some point. That's what Grayscale had always planned to do. And that would, of course, tend all of this to zero, right? The discount would tend towards zero. And you've seen that. You've had a huge increase here in the rate going from minus 46 up towards 15, showing that that discount has continued to close in as we get closer and closer to the likelihood of Grayscale getting approved for their Bitcoin ETF. Now, what we got was a huge update in the case because overnight at midnight US time, the SEC had a deadline, and that deadline was for them to appeal their loss in court. So what happened was Grayscale filed for their spot ETF, and so then the SEC rejected it, like they've been rejecting pretty much everything else. They rejected it, and the court then ruled that this was not right. They were rebuked by the court, and the court claimed it was arbitrary and a capricious rejection. Very strong language by the judge, and it sent them packing, right? It sent the SEC packing. Now, I and many others thought that the SEC would just come back and appeal this, right? They'll use another reason because they can still proceed with another reason to refuse it. But they've not. They've not appealed the judge's ruling. So that means now that they are not appealing the review, which means they now have to review the filing again and either A, come up with another reason for why they're not going to appeal the spot Bitcoin ETF for Grayscale. They can't use the same reason that's been deemed arbitrary and capricious. They have to come up with a better one, which, by the way, is not going to be easy for them because they would have put their best foot forward first. They would have used their best excuse. Gensler would have used his best excuse first straight out of the bat. So the fact that's been rejected increases the probability and the excitement that we could be getting a Bitcoin spot ETF around the corner. This is what the excitement is about currently. So you need to monitor this. You need to monitor the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust again. You know, if this eventually does get turned into a Bitcoin ETF, you're still buying Bitcoin at 15% discount to the current prices in the market, which is completely insane as we get closer and closer. Hold up, guys. If you're looking to actively trade and you're not in our free Telegram group, ijaz.uk/TG, make sure you're in there. I share free trade alerts plus TA setups of exactly how I trade altcoins and profit successfully. Also, there is a VIP group where you get regular VIP trade alerts with the exact trades I'm taking, so definitely check that out. ijaz.uk/TG. I'll see you on the inside. Now, what this then means is we're going to get a wealth of institutions who will now finally be able to get exposure to Bitcoin because the SEC can't go and approve Grayscales without approving a bunch of others. And the wide consensus in the market is that once they approve one ETF, they're going to have to open the door to a flood of other ETFs. As long as they file in the same way and have the similar mechanisms, they've got to approve them all because they would have set a precedence to approve one and they'll have to approve them all. And currently, you've got BlackRock filing, the biggest asset manager holding $9 trillion in assets globally. Wisdom Tree, you've got the likes of Invesco. These are big players, guys. Valkyrie, you've got ARK Invest as well. Like this is major. Van Eck. These are major players waiting. Fidelity to jump into the crypto space. And this is going to be a bull market like none other. Every other bull market up until this point has been fueled by retail and the average Joe, right? Certain countries have been backing Bitcoin as well, but now you're tapping into major institutional money. And the thesis behind crypto has always been, if you can get a few percent of the bigger players, I mean, the real estate market, a few percent of the foreign exchange market, a few percent of the NASDAQ and the stock markets, Bitcoin will absolutely go crazy due to the cap supply. So that's what we're monitoring here now. Big step here in terms of the spot ETF. Bitcoin stopping the bleeding here for now, bouncing nicely from where it originally was earlier in September to now sitting here at 26.9. But of course, the markets have been feeling this downward leg, right? They've been feeling this bit here. And so what we can see is that we're not completely out of the woods. You can see a head and shoulders pattern continuing to form somewhat here. That is a bearish pattern which can play itself out down to a price target of 20,000. So the risks continue to inherently be to the downside. You can also see, this type of a double top pattern was trying to play out. That can easily turn into a reverse Adam and Eve type pattern to break to the downside. So there's a lot of bearish bias here. Remember, I said when we bounced from here, it was critical that we broke beyond these two peaks here. And so far, we've not managed to do that. Okay, we've not managed to do that on the Bitcoin price. And so my bias in the short term continues to be the downside. But we're seeing relative strength. We're seeing decent strength here. We're not just collapsed straight down below 25,000, which is this red line. So we've seen some decency here on Bitcoin. The other thing to be cognizant of is this. We were in this rising channel. We broke down from the channel. We bounced to the first pivot point. Remember, when you fall from a channel like this, your pivot point is here. That's your first price target. Your second price target is down here. So in this case, we're talking 24.8 and then all the way down here to 20,000, which of course ties in with that head and shoulders pattern I just shared with you. But we bounced from this first price target. We managed to avoid playing down to the second price target. But like I said, when you bounce, it's got to bounce with vengeance. It didn't. It didn't even retest the other side of the channel. If it retested the other side, it's still bearish, right? It can come to the downside here. But it had to go and get past 32 in order to maintain the upward channel. We've not managed to do that. So my bias continues to be the downside. I continue to prepare for lower price targets, but it's exciting news that Gensler is starting to capitulate. We're starting to see chinks in his armor. We're starting to see that his argument, his delay to try to delay as long as possible the approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF is getting him caught in a bit of a pickle. So, it's pretty much getting to a point now where the markets are going, you know what, we're going to get this spot ETF. It's going to be exciting. Institutions will be able to get Bitcoin on its balance sheet. We're already seeing that some of the FASB accounting rules have changed for the better, which allows companies to now write Bitcoin on their balance sheet in a fair way where they can write it up and they can write it down, which is hugely important for companies as well. So that we're starting to see how the landscape is changing. So for all those people, feeling worried about crypto, the Bitcoin we hold today is not the same as the Bitcoin you were holding just a year ago. The landscape has changed. And for anybody who can't see that, you're stuck in the FUD mindset. We've seen more adoption. We've seen more security in Bitcoin. Hash rates are at all-time highs. Institutions desperate to flood into Bitcoin. You're seeing the accounting rules change. You're starting to see Bitcoin seen much more favorably as more of a safer asset class. And finally, is being treated slowly as this mature asset class. And that is what you're starting to see from the big money funds out there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you appreciate this type of content, smash up the likes. Don't forget to subscribe. I also wanted to share this with you guys, which is that our VIP trading group is absolutely smashing it right now. We hit our take profit on the Clay trade, 7.85% just on first take profit, guys. This is still in play to go hit the second take profit target as well. 7.85% spot profit. So if you're looking for a spot signal group, jump into ours. The Telegram group is free, ijaz.uk/TG, but we do have a VIP signal if you want more regular signals with the trades I'm looking at, the TA I do, the setups, the key levels, everything is inside. You'll learn how to trade alongside me. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.